This is Darth Darkett of the Galaxy of Bureaus podcast, and you're listening to the Escape Podcast. This show was recorded in front of a live studio audience. Crack open a beer and take it away, boys.
One is a Grand Arena specialist from the UK. The other is a territory battle tactician from the US. Together, there are no signs of intelligent life on board. But with both having decades of hosting experience under their belt, the one thing we are sure of is you will be entertained. This is the Escape Podcast, a weekly look into the mobile game Star Wars: Galaxy of Heroes. Live from the Nerdy Network studios of Yavin 4, here are your hosts, Neil Andrew Eyre and Paul Anthony.
Coming up on this week's edition of the Escape Pod Cast,
Hondo arrives to the game.
And, well, Neil, I have to admit something that happened because of it.
Does it have anything to do with my game as well, Paul?
If it's what I think it is that you're referring to, yeah, probably.
How the heck did you pull that off?
Well, I guess people can just say I sold out now, can't they?
We will go into it all in the spirit of transparency in our one and only monologue segment.
Wait a minute. Only one monologue segment?
Well, that's because Crumb wants to, come on and talk about the puzzle.
Ooh, that gives me an idea.
He did bring some slides as well.
Oh, did he now?
Yep, we will go into detail what was behind all of the devious twists and turns last week.
And then, Nev, you've got your list of people that make sense to come along that, you're going to try to read Crumb's face.
Oh, yes. And we also have a brand new Dickie and The Noob this week. I wonder what they're up to since their bounty has been claimed.
Well, we also have Patreon's Choice on the Bridge.
And we are the breaking news this week as and if it happens.
Right here on the Escape Pod Cast.
The Escape Pod Cast News.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Escape Pod Cast.
You keep making that longer and longer every single week.
Well, why not? It's, I'm just, I get pleasure from it because it winds you up.
I'm the one who came up with the name. I'm the one who came up with the whole thing.
The pause, the longer I get on the pause, the more it winds you up. It's like, it's like a Jack in the Box. And then I say it before you pop, So, as always, I'm joined by my hetero life partner, Paul. You're probably a bit excited today because of the guest and what's going to be discussed.
Oh, yes. I am absolutely stoked. We are going to be talking to the one, the only SB Crumb coming up in just 30 minutes. I mean, we're spending an hour along with him, and he's bringing some slides, as we said. He's going to show us every single step along the way of how he created this puzzle. Maybe drop a hint or two, probably not, but knock on wood,
I'm gonna squeeze something out of him. I'm definitely gonna look. I was able to squeeze out of him the last time when I gave him that list. That he didn't say I'd got them all right, but I was that person that had got the most right. He just wasn't prepared to say at the time that my list of characters included all three remaining characters.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that my list will I'm hoping that the remaining two, because we don't know what the Legends character is yet. Well, I mean, Starkiller was pretty much announced. When we knew that Dash Rendar was going to be the first character. So it was guessing who the remaining three were going to be.
Well, Dr. Aphra is.
No, Dr. Aphra is one of the two. I thought Dr. Aphra was one of the two.
No.
Dr. Aphra. So Hondo is the first.
First of four
The
to
first of
get
four.
Aphra.
and you get right. Okay, I thought it was the other way around. I thought Aphra and Hondo were the first two.
We need to speak correctly here. If it is a similar structure, we don't know. We truly don't know.
Well, that I will be bugging Crumb about that then, because the Legends event needs to be the same as the Legends event last time. Especially if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And the last Legends event was awesome. Everybody loved it. Everybody enjoyed it. I didn't hear a single person complain. All right, people whinged a little bit about the whole Relic 5 requirement, in order to go for Starkiller. But those people that did that and went for Starkiller were like, yeah, it was totally worth it. It was totally worth that's what I mean by, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Don't change it. Just give us 4 awesome characters that we have to take to Relic 5 in order to get Dr. Aphra. So that's what I'm hoping for.
It would be nice.
I know we'll get that confirmation from him when I give him my list and try and weed out if I reckon last time the list I gave him, I got all 3 remaining characters correct. I'd like to think I'm going to be able to do the same thing again. Yeah, definitely. So I will I'll do exactly the same thing again. I will post my list somewhere so that there is a record of this,
of the names you rattled off.
Of the names I rattled off.
Is this a new list?
No, it's not. It's not so much a new list. It's the remaining names on the existing list. Even though I think that the majority of them aren't going to be characters coming. The only tweak I think that is going to occur this time is during the last Legends event, we got 2 light side, 2 dark side. And then ultimately we got Starkiller. What I think is going to happen this time is they're all going to be neutral. So I think that we're going to get 4 neutrals from Legends, and then you get Aphra. So we're going to have 5 really, really awesome neutrals that you can throw together in a team and then use in either the light side or the dark side GOTB, which would be, great for some people.
And it would be great if they have a TB Omicron as well. So,
well, I mean, they're all going to have Omicrons. It's just
whether but I'm saying a territory battle one.
Well, did anybody have a TB? Was anyone a TB one the last time?
Kyle Katarn
was territory battle. Darth Talent and Dash were GAC, and Mara Jade was territory wars.
Yes, Mara was territory.
That's these 4 characters will more than likely be a similar spread, unless they want to do one for each. One for territory wars, one for GAC, one for territory battles, and then one for conquest. It's always a possibility.
So I've been waiting to make this joke on the show. I made it many times in my guild chat, in the TEPc Discord server, and in the SWGOH event server. Happy Hondo days from your Hondo dealer.
Happy Hondo days.
Happy Hondo days. So let's talk about the elephant in your guild's chat room.
Yeah, okay.
Somebody said, Nev, how the hell do you have a 7-star Hondo?
Mm-hmm. Well, explain it to the good people.
So when you pester and bother a video game company for 2,509 days to get a certain character in the game, and you get Jim Cummings to talk to them. You get you send them a sign at a public event. You don't creepily stand outside the offices or anything. But when you're involved in it, no, I will not do that. I'm not that creepy. They end up doing something nice. Thank you to CG for the support in giving both Neil and I 7-star Hondos because of our support. Yep. There's yours. There's mine.
Two pieces away from gear 13.
Yeah, mine's still purple on the bottom, Neil.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have anything else. I mean, I'm farming for JMK at the moment, and I'm way off actually getting him. So I thought, sod it, I'll just use the gear on. Just that was it. Because by the time I've got Hondo 2, Gear 13, and Relic 5, then he's placeholdered. That's it.
Yep.
He's ready for the event then. I just need to get my hands on the other 3.
And you have also been hoarding gear. I myself am pushing for Jabba the Hutt, so I haven't gotten him to that.
Yeah, no,
yet.
I've been hoarding gear for JMK, for when I get JMK, being able to take him to at least Gear 12 straight away. Probably not going to be able to do that once I've finished taking Hondo to Relic 5. So I'm content, because in the back of my mind I'm thinking to myself, I can guarantee having Hondo to Relic 5 before 5v5 starts, right? But I wouldn't be able to do the same for JMK. So why, cry over spilt milk? I may as well just go for Hondo, because people have shown him at Relic 5 in certain bounty hunter and scoundrel teams. He's a gas killer.
Yeah.
He's a gas killer. And I'm, I don't mind taking my, Dash Rendar and my BAM, and a couple of other, but I don't mind taking them off defense to stick with Hondo, just to have on offense in case my opponent decides they're going to shove gas down, and then I don't have to bother wasting CLS, or I could save CLS for something else. It would be useful.
Yeah.
So it'd be good. It'd be nice. And then, it's a bit like when I got Mara. I had Mara. I simped her to 5 immediately. And then I just sat and waited, and I was 1/4 of the way towards Starkiller, which is why I paused my C farm way back when, just so that I could, get my Starkiller, and then I went back to C, because we all know that Starkiller in GAC was effectively a GL killer, and on defense, required a GL in order to beat it. Not with datacons anymore. So I kind of feel cheated out of the time, effort, and resources I put into that team, because it no longer does what it says on the tin. But,
so what we do also need, we mentioned this in an effort to be absolutely 100% transparent with you. This was not something that, we take lightly. We appreciate what they did. And it as you noticed from mine, we were giving him at Gear 1. No special treatment except for
just
you've got Hondo.
Yeah, just the stars. It was just the stars. It's just the stars. Because they know you're going to spend to get him up at some point.
Oh,
I mean, know I'm not. They know you will.
I'm doing it now.
Yeah.
It's as I was saying in the pre-show, I'll have Chrysanthemum at 7-star tomorrow. Now that's a problem though. Is we were expecting to be able to farm Skiffguard Lando with this update, but we are not. We have to at least wait an extra week, maybe 2, before we get to play with Skiffguard Lando, start farming him.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know where he's going to end up at. We don't know if he's going to be a ship farm.
Well, they could do me a favor and put him on a light side node, because then I'll definitely farm him for my tickets for JMK. So if they want to put everything on a light side node, I'm happy with that. I will take that to the bank, because I will farm the crap out of those nodes for my tickets. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, seeing,
but it would be nice. I think what we need, what people need to, hammer now is the precedent that we've set. So when somebody else gets a character reveal, maybe they get a little cheddar for their time and effort as well,
It's been a fun week. It's been a fun 2 weeks. It's been a full month, if you include the fact that we were sitting on it going, I can't say anything. I can't make it obvious. I can't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So, how are you finding him so far? I mean, you watched some streams.
I've watched some streams. I mean, I'm not getting any good out of him at the moment, but he's only a 12. He's only a 12+3 at the moment. And all of the videos that I've seen that Arnold did, he was at Relic 5. So that I'm and when watching the battles, it does appear like Hondo is the last man standing. When even so, you get the victory, but with just Hondo as the last character standing in battle out of your 5. So I'm kind of leaning into he'll probably do that for me once I've got him to Relic 5, because I will take him straight to Relic 5 because I'm 100% cast iron sure that that's what he's going to be required at in order for the Legends event. Sith Lord Wicket. Don't think so. Nice idea. Sith Lord Jar Jar.
No. Stop that.
Sith Jar Jar.
So remember
Jar Jar Binks.
So and remember his I guess we won't be friends. His second unique. If Hondo had at least 2 other allies at the start of the encounter, the first time Hondo has nobody else, he gains 100% turn meter. But then he also gets the 25% counter, defense, evasion, offense, potency, tenacity for the rest.
Yeah, exactly. So when he becomes the last man standing, it doesn't matter who he's fighting. As long as it's not GL, he's pretty much a shoo-in to win.
No, that does not matter. The I guess we won't be friends is not GL specific. He can do that against a GL.
Yeah, but he's not gonna. He's not gonna.
Hey, I haven't seen him at Relic 9 yet, so we don't know about that.
I've only seen videos of him at Relic 5. That's all I've seen is videos of him at Relic 5. But most people are just going to do that, do these Legends characters to 5 because that's what most people did on the previous occasion. And let's be honest, the characters were that good. It didn't really need more than Relic 5. I mean, I've wanted to dump another 2 relic levels on my Mara Jade for quite some time now because I'm a simp for her, but it's overkill because I went like so over the top regarding her mods that she's over 330 speed and she's got 10k damage. So when she's got those 20 stacks of Palpatine's hand and she's the last girl standing. Oh, she just wrecks Rey. It's a thing of beauty.
A lot of people are complaining. I'm doing finger quotes for our audio audience. That his speed is only 139.
Yeah, his speed is bloody atrocious, but he gets bonus turn meter.
Anytime a character gains bonus turn meter, he gets 5% bonus turn meter.
So the speed's irrelevant because he's always getting bonus turn meter. Doesn't one of his things set everyone's speed to 0 as well? One of his specials.
Well, that's when he captives. He captives somebody to 0, and they can't attack or gain a bonus gain bonus turn meter, and nothing happens until it's his turn again.
Yeah.
You know what I did, Neil, with my mods on him?
Well,
I made sure I didn't put a lick of speed on him. I want him slow.
Oh, right.
So they're captive for as long as possible. By the way, thank you, Darknar, earlier for the subscription, and Jedi Rules gave out a sub to Pat B TV. Thank you very much for the support of the show and the channel.
Yeah, they probably had him faster than that, but realized that he was too fast, and that because of the way that they'd done his abilities and specials, the mechanics, that speed just wasn't necessary. A base speed wasn't necessary. So there's no, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not like wasting my time looking for uber speed. I think most of his, I've got a speed set on him, but it's not like they're overkill. They're between 10 and 15, just between 10 and 15s. So just enough to get him over the 220 mark. Yeah. So that he's not sub 200.
At Relic 9, he has 60,017 health, 66,732 protection. His critical damage is 150%. Just think about putting critical damage mods on that.
Yeah, no, that could definitely work. I mean, I've got a crit damage mod set. I could give it a try. I'll probably try a couple of different mod sets once I've got him to Relic 5. Because I imagine using him. I imagine using him on offense with either IG-11 and Queel. Obviously, Karth, Nest, and Hondo are going to be my core three, and then the two behind, those are the ones that I'm going to tweak and test and change. I'm really, really hoping that I can get away with someone like Bam and Bo-Katan.
Really quick, Dark Nar, thank you for gifting Al Bundy, Panfoot75, Awaken 777, Bob, and A Cheerful Doom. I love that name. Gifted subs. We are 3 minutes away from possible hype train. If we do get a hype train going, we will acknowledge every single person that that helps. Dr. Feelgood just made that hype train go live. Let's see how high we can get it. We will acknowledge every single one. We don't have any of those fancy graphics or music videos when people get hype trains going because we are recording the show live. So,
yeah, we could do it. We choose not to.
We choose not to, but it doesn't change the fact that we are humbled by the support.
We're not weekend shock jocks. We haven't got like a panel next to us, and we just keep hitting buttons for multiple different sound effects.
I do have all those buttons over here.
I mean, I do as well. I do as well, but I'm saving that for another podcast.
You're listening to Dingo and the Baby.
Dingo and the Baby.
That was a Family Guy.
Oh my God, from Parks and Rec. That was that was good. That was funny.
No, Dingo and the Baby was Family Guy. Was that also in Parks and Rec?
Oh no, no. Sorry, Parks and Rec was Ira and the Douche. Sorry, not Dingo and the Baby. Yeah, no, not Family Guy. It was The Simpsons, wasn't it?
No,
it was definitely animated.
Yeah,
so
it was Family Guy because it was Brian and Stewie.
Yeah, no, Ira and the Douche were Parks and Recreation. Yeah, no, that was funny. So, but that's like over the top.
So, it's what are you wanting out of Aphra to kind of put them at the level of Starkiller?
I don't see anything wrong with putting Aphra at the level of Starkiller. But like Starkiller is a GL, is a force to be reckoned with in GAC, and pretty much only in GAC. I mean, don't get me. He is still, but I mean, I still use him great in. I still use him that squad so that I can just auto on Conquest, for example, because I don't do Conquest. You know me. I go in, I pick a team, I hit auto. So he's great for that. But because of all his omnis are GAC, I don't know if they would do that for Aphra. I could see them doing maybe territory battles for Aphra. Starkiller has 3 for GAC. I could see them doing 3 for Aphra, but either territory wars or territory battles, not GAC, because you've got to have a little bit of flavor there somewhere. So, and obviously this new neutral tag, we know it's going to be playing into the new territory battle that they've got coming in. So having that team of neutrals and then obviously all of the Omicrons on Aphra, if they were territory battle ones, is going to be a vitally important team that a lot of people are going to want to, a lot of guilds are going to want to push their guild members, towards. So especially if they want to be competitive.
You know how we have light side and we have dark side leader abilities. Do you think that we're going to get something that only affects neutral characters? Or do you think that it will be neutral characters that just so happen to have synergies like Hondo does for certain light side this and certain dark side that?
I think it's more than likely to be something along similar lines as Hondo. So the leadership ability will say, smugglers, scoundrels, and then there'll be 2 parts: light side scoundrels, this happens; dark side scoundrels, this happens. That's the way I think that's the way I think they'll play it.
Yeah, if the enemy is dark side, Hondo gains 10% turn meter. If the enemy is light side, Hondo removes 10% turn meter from them. That's his basic. Where's the other parts that there's other parts that combine for dark side, light side, depending on what it is. It's a lot of fun. A lot of people in chat are saying that the territory battle Omicrons are underrated. I 100% agree. Anybody who listens to the show, that has listened to the show for an extended period of time, does know that I love my territory battles, and I'm excited for what this new one is going to have. John Karcher said, "Should I get Jabba ASAP?" I'm thinking so. From all of the testing and all of the usage that people have so far got out of him, he pretty much wrecks everybody else. He really does. He just wrecks everybody else. So with Embo, though, you have to remember, Embo's not required to bring up, but you need him in there in order to do the damage that he's, Embo's the glass cannon, if you will, for the team.
Yeah. Well, but that's not a bad thing, because most people already have Embo anyway. Maybe they don't necessarily have him geared up or relicked, but most people probably have Embo at 7 stars because he's such an old character, and everybody runs out of farming eventually. I mean, I literally only have new characters to farm, but granted, I've been playing the game for over 6 years, but that to me, that would be... most people would already have him, in their roster, and it's a case of, oh, that's a nice bonus. All I have to do is gear him and relic him,
Yeah.
And obviously mod him decently.
Well, let's take a break, and on the other side of this break, Darknar at the last second. Let's go ahead really quick because we're gonna go into a new run of the hype train. During this hype train, Dr. Feelgood started out. Awaken cheered 100 bits. Norelli cheered 100 bits. Dr. Feelgood gave a sub to Gigan 0. Darknar gave a sub to Real Lego Calrissian. We miss you, my friend. Lysias the Fox, Borge Man, B Cubed 81, and the Smokin' Fajita.
Smokin' Fajita. Oh yeah.
So we're gonna come back on the other side of this break, and we are going to be talking to the one and only SB Crumb right here on the Escape Pod cast.
HotBot in HotUtils is one of the most comprehensive tools for Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes.
With integration into the super useful mod tool Grand Ivory, HotUtils can help you tackle some of the most difficult aspects of the game.
Not sure how to mod your roster for a certain game mode?
Use one of the many filters that automatically assigns the right mods to the right character in accordance with your guild needs.
Now with additional features that can assist you and your guild officers in territory battles and territory wars, HotUtils is an amazing value.
And don't forget the useful tools for yourself in Grand Arena, like the in-depth and customizable compare feature.
Got multiple accounts like Neil, but not the time to remod them all?
With this one-stop utility, you can switch between your alts and never miss a mod upgrade or a mod switch before locking into GAC or Territory Wars.
Starting at just $5 a month, you don't want to miss out on these great tools.
HotUtils is the new official remodding service for the Escape Pod cast.
Visit HotUtils.com to learn more. That's HotUtils.com. And go ahead and spice up your Galaxy of Heroes experience.
Podawans, be sure to support the shows brought to you on the Escape Podcast Twitch and YouTube channel by becoming a Patreon. For as little as $2 a month, you can support us and get a little extra for yourself. With tiered rewards including access to Shitty Bill's Arena tracking bot, after-show access, inclusion in the GA Center leaderboards, behind-the-scenes access, and much more. There is something for everyone on our Discord server. Head on over to Patreon, that is patreon.com/theescapepod, and sign up today. Thank you for supporting and listening to the Escape Podcast.
Back to school. The Escape Pod, cast for kids. It's really cool.
Hello there, Padawans, and welcome back to another episode of Storytime with Uncle Thad. Today we're going to talk about a character that I have long since hoped would come to the game. A character that has played both sides of the Galactic Civil War, and so far has lived to tell about it. She is a scoundrel and a scientist. She is equal parts Lara Croft and Bill Gates, willing to explore the unknown regions of the universe, but also kind of a tech genius. That's right, tonight we're going to talk about none other than Dr. Chelly Londa Aphra. Chelly Londa Aphra was a human female born to academic parents, Corin and Lana Aphra. They lived scholarly lives in the university quarter on the second moon of Trinitic. Her father was more interested in his, research than actually raising a family. And eventually, her mother left her father. Lana Aphra would eventually die at the hands of raiders, leaving her daughter essentially an orphan. Baby Aphra was eventually rescued by the Empire and returned to her father, where she began her long trek to a doctorate degree in archaeologist. Sounds fun, right? But higher education isn't for everyone. Aphra accidentally bumped into none other than Lord Vader. He was going one way, she was going another. Vader was like, "Hey, you're good at researching and building private droid armies, right?" And Aphra was all, "Sure, I've done that loads of times." Now, of course, she hadn't, but when Darth Vader is about to offer you a job, you lie in order to get it. Then, you lie in order to stay alive while working for him. It's kind of a catch-22. But during their working relationship, Vader and Aphra left death and destruction in their wake. Now, part of this was because Vader was still pouting about accidentally killing his wife, Padme, and partially because Aphra had brought two very deadly droids to life, 000 and BT-1. These two droids, they liked nothing more than killing non-droids, like every type of species. They loved it. Imagine like a mirror version of R2-D2 and C-3PO. And you'll start to get a pretty good idea of what we're talking about. Aphra would go on to interact with major players in the galaxy. People from like Harrison Dula all the way up to Emperor Palpatine himself. And while Aphra was kind of a loner, she tended to spend much of her time with her two murder droids, Chrysanthemum, and a handful of other smugglers, scoundrels, and general lowlifes. Has a number of wild stories that we could really spend a long time talking about. But since we don't have her kit yet, I don't want to spend a ton of time talking about what she probably looks like, and I want to save some of the more juicy stories for another story time. But with that, I've just got to say that Dr. Aphra coming to the game is possibly one of the coolest things that could happen in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, especially now that Hondo Naka is already in game. But with her, there's a lot of potential characters that could be coming. Now, if you're a fan of Dr. Aphra, who and what character do you think she will be teamed up with? What do you think will make her best kit, and what abilities do you think she should have when she does come to the game? Well, that's it for me, folks. Stay tuned next week for more episodes of Storytime with Uncle Thad on the Escape Podcast for kids.
Hello, friends. This is Thaddeus from Going Nerdy, and I approve this message and am compensated for signups for this service.
The world's largest audiobook library is at your fingertips, and the Escape Podcastaways wants you to try it for free. Head on over to escapepodcastaways.com and click the Going Nerdy offer button to claim a free audiobook and 2 Audible originals. Cancel anytime, and it's absolutely free to sign up. Check out Audible and support the Escape Podcastaways. All for free. See Audible website for details. Restrictions may apply.
Hey there, listeners. Merchandise specialist Critty K here. Do you enjoy the Escape Pod and want to support the channel and get something a little extra for yourself as well? Head on over to tpublic.com/user/theescapepodcast and grab a Team Neil, Team Paul, Critty Play, or many other fun Padawan designs on your choice of shirt, cup, sticker, mask, or even a magnet. And be sure to check out the Mrs. Anthony Shirts channel on the Escape Podcast Discord and get the latest info on the other designs I make as well. Sometimes there's even a sale going on, so it is smart to stop on by. Thank you for supporting the Escape Podcast.
Attention, we are receiving an incoming transmission. Attention. Attention. We are receiving an incoming transmission.
And welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. We have a guest. Paul, who is our guest?
Our guest is none other than the guy who tortures people who enjoy Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes on a at least annual basis. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, SB Crumb. Crumb, where's Hondo?
Well, he's in the game right now. Finally, I can answer that question easily for you guys. But thank you for having me again. Love to see you guys, Paul and Nev. Always a great time being here, so I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, well, we appreciate all that you have done, all that you do with this, and also, as we publicly explained, when you pester you enough, you end up getting something nice. We certainly appreciate our Gear 1 Hondo.
Well, mine is now 12 plus 3, so I'm actually ahead of Paul.
He is. Wow. He is because I spent everything on my Jabba prep. So
yeah, and I'm farming for JMK, so I had a bunch of gear doing nothing, just sat in my inventory, and I thought, well, I've got Hondo.
Well, why not?
Well, why not? It's going to take me forever and ever and ever to farm for those bloody GL tickets. You could get rid of any time you want to get rid of those tickets. That's fine with me. Farming for those tickets is without a doubt one of the most laborious tasks within this game, other than doing conquest, of course.
Yeah, the tickets. It is a when you get to the end of your Galactic Legend, for the event, you're like, okay, cool, I've got that 330 stars, I'm good to go. And it's like, oh wait, nope, you still got still third or half of the event to get
more
through.
of those things for the ultimate, which is fine if you've got JML, because you don't need the ultimate for JML, but you need the ultimate for everybody else. So yeah, and I mean, what would be the point in going for Jabba and not going for his ultimate? Because I'm sorry, that just wouldn't make any sense to have Jabba and not want to have the the Rancor in your back pocket.
Looks too cool.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get started. I went and made special art and all that so we could post this slideshow that you've brought to us to explain the steps of this puzzle. The floor is yours right now.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I wanted to go through this. I know people always ask, hey, can I get a recap of the story and whatnot? And so I wanted to just walk through with you guys, just step by step, how each of the little bits work. And then if you guys have any questions in chat, or Paul or Nev, if you guys want to ask any questions, of course, let me know. But
it's dangerous. It's dangerous for you to say chat. You can ask questions.
Oh, sorry. I mean, about the presentation. But I started putting together a history of the puzzles in general, just for myself and for the studio to show them at some point. So this is I was already kind of starting to work on this presentation, but just to be clear, it is still very early on. I have not finished putting this all together, but most of it's there, at least all the stuff for this part of the whole conversation, so we can talk about the Doc Aphra thing. So I just wanted to walk through that, and we'll get started here with the sort of planning doc I always put together. And it's this, 9 stages here. I mean, the last stage is really just the reveal. So really 8 stages of work and deciphering crazy things to finally get to the end of this whole thing. But, there is the Hondo interview in the middle that you guys got to produce, which was super awesome. So glad we got to do that together. that got you a little bit of something along the way here. But ultimately, it was quite a long puzzle. Actually, it was 15 hours, 35 minutes for this whole thing, or 34 minutes. So the theme of this one, if you guys didn't catch it, was collaboration. It sometimes encouraged, sometimes forced collaboration.
Yes.
And so I tried to do a couple things that people have done that we've done in the past that people really enjoyed, like the crossword, but also things like the video and both the videos, the trivia show and the Hondo interview, like giving things for people to like collectively kind of look through and try and find the right moments in the time code to like pull out, oh, there's a little clue there, let me grab that one. To of course to like how we kicked the whole thing off, which was me sending a package to Cubs and Grid, and then you guys having to collaborate with them via the stream to try and figure out how to solve the first stage of the puzzle, which was a challenge. An intended one just from the added difficulty of having to communicate across the whole thing. Yeah, it took a little while.
Took a while.
Yeah, but ultimately it was about trying to bring people together, collaborate. I mean, whenever I do these puzzles, I always want to try and get as many people behind the being able to help solve this thing as possible, right? Like, I don't want it ever to be solved by one person easily, if possible. It's got to take like a group effort, I think, to really bring the community together. And ultimately, like, that's why I do these, right? Just to like, I guess, start at the top of like why we even do these in the first place, right? We could just release the character and say, hey, here's Hondo, here's Aphra, here you go, goodbye, folks. But the community has really over time really grown to do these things and are tremendously smart at solving these things.
You set the precedent with Darth Revan.
Yeah. So, and it's only kind of grown from there.
With Jedi, it was with Jedi Revan.
Jedi Revan was the first one. Well, before that,
JKR, not DR. Yeah. You set the precedent with Revan though.
More in this presentation, which I said I really haven't finished here. There is a list of all the puzzles I've done so far, and I realized the first one we ever did was Django. With the like the little like blurry image and the zoom in on the shoulder pad, and then we did the Chewbacca one, which was just like the Lego puzzle piece.
Brilliant. Yeah.
We had to put the puzzle together, and then we did the Revan one after that, and it's just kind of like escalated beyond from there to there. So this one, we try to kick it off some way interesting. So I decided, hey, I reached out to Cubs and Grid and said, hey, would you guys be willing to kick off the puzzle? I think I could send you guys something fun to do. And they're like, yeah, sure, we'd definitely be in. And Grid was nice enough to like go join Cubs at his house and fly out there and stuff. So that was really, really cool. But essentially, like, I gave them a whole bunch of puzzle pieces, and the thing on the right side here is what before I sent it, just after I'd written all the letters on it, and I looked at it and I was like, oh my God, this thing is an absolute nightmare, especially if you don't see it in person. Like, if you hold it at the light at like an angle, you can kind of see what's on top and what's on bottom. But just from pictures, man, this thing looks terrifying.
We went on in the Puzzle Master chat, we're sitting there going, which ones are the ones on the top? Which ones are the ones on the bottom?
That figuring that out took just. I remember watching the stream, thinking, "My God, can we figure out the orientation?"
It's just what is the orientation of the whole thing? But
4
you guys
hours,
persevered. Right? Yeah, about 4 hours for that one. The other part of that I had sent out, which I thought was hilarious that no one found for a good chunk of it, was these 2 pieces of paper that had kind of the really important information, the instructions on how to solve this whole thing. So in addition to the clear puzzle piece that they had to assemble, which even with the picture, like I've done that puzzle myself without hints once, and took me a while, like multiple days. I did it. Then I reassembled it again for fun, just somewhere point in the past, and then I reassembled it for this one to try and to make sure I sent it out properly. And even with the picture, and I'd done this twice already, it took me about 45 minutes to put that thing together. So I knew someone coming in cold was going to have a hard time. Not to mention all the letters and numbers and arrows and stuff over the whole thing. And essentially, they had to follow the arrows around, and there was one path that moved throughout the entire thing that grabbed all the letters, and then it ended in a blank, like a spot with no arrow on it. So it was like, that's the end point, that's the start. And you guys figured that out pretty fast. But the thing that kind of tripped people up was that this other stuff was in this box for a long time. There was 2 like these little, it was color change or heat sensitive ink. So this one you had to put in the cold. There was 2 clues, tasty one before a cut and without passion.
Cold
tasty
cut
before a cut is a cold cut, and without passion is just being cold. And so you froze this thing, and hey, some stuff appeared on there, and I'd scratched in a whole bunch of other extra lines on there. So it wouldn't be easy just to hold it up to your eyes and figure out like, oh, what does this say? There was a bunch of like misinformation and junk on it.
Yeah, the fallingpackage.com was within 5 minutes, somebody chimed in on the chat and went Dropbox.
Yeah, Dropbox. Yeah.
So when it's Dropbox, and then we were like, oh, right, okay. And then it was like, okay, so then it was people trying to figure out what comes after Dropbox, you know, what comes after the slashes. But I must admit, at the time that this was on, and we were trying to get Cubs to put the one in the oven, he's like, I'm not putting this in my oven unless Crumb says I need to put it in my oven. And we're like, he's not gonna tell you to do that. That's not gonna happen.
To be fair, I baked both of these in an oven when I messed up the paper to make it look all old. I baked these in the oven at like 200, 300 degrees, and they were fine as long as you're careful with it. I'm not recommending you do that, to be clear. Don't sue me if you light your kitchen on fire. But
don't go over 451.
Yeah. Just make sure you're monitored it closely. If there is, you've got the proper things to solve it if it does go wrong. But yeah, and the thing that really made me like when nervous is when they ran the hair dryer over it, but they were so far away the heat wasn't really hitting the paper. I was so worried that people were just gonna be like, oh, that doesn't work, goodbye, and then just throw that away and then move on from that. And I was like, oh no, if they don't realize that's the step, that's gonna be a real big problem. But once you figured out like heat was for one, putting the other one in the freezer was pretty straightforward. The clues were before a drill. You would not want to be under it, and sack for the fire side of things to heat this one up, as we were just talking about. But once you figured out one, it was like, okay, the other one's got to be the opposite of like heat one, cool the other. And so they figured that out, and there was basically you had to put this whole thing together with, it said the following package, Dropbox is what it was referring to, as you mentioned. And then it said side one plus this string plus side two, and side one and side two was either side of that clear puzzle. So once you got the string from either side of the puzzle, you typed all the pieces in correctly, you were able to get to the next piece. But I think this was almost the longest stage, honestly. It took you guys quite some time on the community, quite some time to put this together. I was expecting this to take a while just because of the communication additional layer to the whole thing, but I didn't think it was going to take as long as 4 or 5 hours. So
the next part is my folly. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and so that led to a Dropbox, as we've talked about, with a whole bunch of comics in it, and the comics, all were replaced with basically the letter H, save for two characters, an A at the beginning and an exclamation point at the end, and that was your only real clues that there was something weird going on. Like, why is it all H's, capital, not capital letter H, and then there's like these two little weird characters. And so my hope was that like people would notice that the A is on the oldest of the comics and the exclamation point is on the newest of the comics. And if you line that, you have to realize that, okay, well, what is the only other logical way to order this? Because we have no other information, but there was a lot of red herrings like that, the file names, for example, and all sorts of other stuff and directions you guys went down to try and figure out like what's the order for these things. But it's one of those cases where like the simplest answer is sometimes the thing you like blow right by and then not realize that, oh, right, this is the only information we have is the dates in which these things were released. But it turns out this is actually a programming language called Ah. It's an absolutely terrible programming language. It's based on 4 H characters that are either upper or lowercase, and each one of those combinations of like, lowercase h, lowercase h, lowercase h, uppercase h, or some other combination of upper and lowercase h's was a different command, essentially, in this programming language. And
basically, it is the h's replace ones and zeros.
In some way, yeah. It's they are specific commands depending on the combinations. Because with 4 characters, even just 2 bits, you've got a ton of different options for what you can, with combinations you can use. Yeah, there was some. It took me a long time to make sure I got it right when I did this. I spent hours trying to make sure I had the code right, and then I actually got the compiler running and ran it. It all worked properly. And then I put it all into the puzzle, into those images, and I was like, oh, I can copy paste this. But another added layer to this whole thing is just transcribing these H's. It's just a horrible thing. And I was like, do I make that easier? And I was like, Nah, that'll be some time for them to figure that out. So.
My phone would not transcribe. That was the part that you used a font that I was sitting there pointing at the screen going, okay, take this. Oh no.
Yeah, just capture this.
And it didn't. But
yeah, I tried to emulate the comic book like kind of style with the font, but I don't know how successful that was. But I did see several people try and compile it, and it did eventually compile when you guys got the string together correctly.
Yeah.
And funny enough, today I just saw actually that the guy who created the program, this guy named Kyle, tweeted about it on mentioned that, hey, my language is being used in a Star Wars puzzle. And so it's really awesome that he was super stoked that we were able. I used his puzzle, or I used his programming language that he said he made as just like a joke, as a meme essentially. And it's like, yes, it is Turing complete. It does work. You can do calculations in it. But my God, is it a nightmare to use? I would highly, highly not recommend programming that language ever if you can avoid it. And I'm sure he would agree. I'm not trying to disparage his work here because it was hard.
Before you move on, the one that he's pointing out, the image that he has on the left, was that comic used on purpose?
Which one? This one?
So back up one more. The one that's on the far right.
Oh, with Hondo.
Yes, because that is Galaxy's Edge issue 3.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I was just wondering if you had used that on purpose, if that was a specific one you were looking for Hondo comics.
Yeah, I wanted to throw like a little hint in here that like Hondo is coming. Like I don't want to be too obvious about it like early on in the whole thing, because if you kind of guess from the start, it's not nearly as interesting. So, but I figured there's so many characters in these set of comics that like, well, one of them's Hondo, but that doesn't mean anything. There's a bunch of characters in here that have never existed in Galaxy Heroes. Turns out it was a slight hint if you knew it was coming. So. But yeah, I definitely picked out all these comics on purpose, except maybe the Ewok comic. I just wanted something that happened in between the first one of the New Hope comic and the Vader ones, just to like have a couple comics throughout the era, throughout different eras and whatnot. But the Hondo one definitely was one I wanted to include there for sure.
Excellent.
Great Star Wars comics. You just got to come to me and Paul.
Yeah. Great issue. Yeah. Neil's got all the old ones. I've got all the new ones.
Yeah. I mean, there was definitely so many to pull from. And I was considering like, do I pull from like a Doc Aphra comic? Like, do I pull from like how obvious do I make this whole thing?
Oh, the Vader Dark Visions
I'm
one?
just waiting for the day when it requires an extended universe book, and I have them all on my shelf.
Yeah,
and it's one of those. So people will be like, "Well, which book? It's this book. Does anybody have that book?" Yes, I have that book. So yeah.
But so once you lined up all the text properly, it actually compiled into a piece of code that was just literally a Twitch link. As you can see, they started to get here initially, but weren't able to get the rest because it errored out because their code was too short. But eventually it led to something that I've been really wanting to do for a long time. This took me by far the most time of any step for a puzzle I've ever done so far. And if you ever seen like Twitch Plays Pokemon, it's a lot of chaos. It's a lot of fun to be a part of. There's just just this blitz of chat going by constantly of different directions and commands. And I thought, what'd be cool to do? What if we did it with a real robot? And turns out that they released that code on GitHub, and you could go and download it. And someone had already modified it for microcontrollers and for robotics. And so I thought, okay, how hard could this be? You take the code they have, you take the code that they've already modified, we make a robot match made in heaven. Well, it really wasn't that simple. It took a long time to get this thing working properly with the correct kind of compass and everything on it. But essentially what it was is there was a giant maze that you had to drive around with a little robot in it, and a little robot named Robbie, and on different corners of it were different parts of the clues. And so this was like my favorite thing to watch, just people driving that around. We did have a couple little errors. There was the segmentation fault that happened a couple times, and there was the spins. There was a number of little weirdness that happened throughout here that if we ever did this again, I need to do some serious bug fixing. But this is also why you never want me programming anything in Galaxy Heroes, because this is just me and my dad programming stuff. And I am not a great programmer. I'm okay, but I'm not amazing.
How big was feet wise, square foot on this maze that you did?
So the square footage of it was 3 8x4 panels. So 8 foot by 4 foot panels. It was 3 layered next to each other. So 12x8 space total.
Wow.
And originally I had a lot more ideas for a complex one, but we ended up having to redo the robot halfway through because the robot, the little motors on the old one, the little smaller one, I wasn't so sure if they were going to be able to handle the whole thing. So we said, let's upgrade it to some big old honking motors. And that made the whole thing a little bit larger, which means like my maze had to get a little bit smaller to compensate for the larger thing. And, or I mean, I guess less complex. The maze was about the same size, but the gaps between each of the segments had to be obviously larger to accommodate the larger vehicle. But surprisingly, the battery held out the whole time. I had a 5,000 milliamp battery on the back, and it was supposed to last for like 6 hours. And luckily, that didn't happen. The battery didn't die or anything like that. But it was a little bit of a cobbled together robot, to say the least, as you can see from some of these pictures here. But it worked out. Robbie did its job and managed to get through. And so this was the maze. If you guys want to see the picture that we were working on, this was the final maze we went with here. I had initially gone with a square maze, which I thought, why go with square? But I also made it a lot more complicated because I had added in a couple more sheets to make this thing a little bit bigger. But I started to realize that my patio might not be big enough to fit this thing. So I realized that might be a real problem. But this was like where I was about to go before I scaled it back. And I thought, this might just be too challenging and too time consuming to get through anyways. So probably a good thing that I kind of culled it back a bit, because I think it was the right length for the puzzle.
For those who are just listening to the audio version, you put so many dead ends in this, including one that just only goes to a dead end and goes to another dead end and another dead end. We're very much glad that it was one
larger,
one easier path, one if you held to the right, one if you held to the left. And then also at the start,
that's the strategy.
At the start, you had the bow fort. Or Fort Bow, or whatever it was.
But to what you're just saying, that I knew people, like, the common strategy was like someone just hugged the left wall, someone hugged the right wall, and I thought, well, I'm going to make it so. And in all of these different iterations, you can see I made it so if you do that, you're going to go directly into a dead end at some point, like, and have to just work your way back out, because I knew that was going to be a strategy. Shout out to my dad. Here's him helping me build this thing in my backyard. Could not have done it without him, the robot or the maze. But we sat there for a couple weekends putting this thing together. But it was also raining, so I didn't want to do it I didn't know if it was going to rain that night or the night before. So I was like a little worried about that. So I put up like a big tarp over the whole thing. There was a lot of drama in case things happened that never occurred, luckily. But as you're saying, there's 3 parts. One part you guys beeline to was part 2 of 2, which is a pretty big clue. There was other stuff to look at, which was good. Just a sort of random string of letters. And then, as you said, at the start of it was a welcome to Beaufort, which was a clue towards the cipher, which is a Beaufort Cipher, which is a pretty common cipher. I think we've used it a couple times in the puzzles in the past. I didn't want to make the cipher part too hard. I figured the driving around was the hard part, and just get you through the thing. And then once you're there, you can go, okay, I have the information, I can solve it. And so that was the key, was that the other part of that maze that they had to drive through.
And this comes to my favorite part that wasn't the Hondo reveal. Mega Man.
Yeah, so I love Mega Man, and I love Mega Man X and a lot of these games that I remember playing through and having to like write down codes and all this stuff. And I was like, I wonder if there's a way I could use this to do some sort of weird cipher with it that I just make up. And I thought, well, there's a certain number of numbers that there's a particular set of numbers that come out for each of these states. And so assumably if you know what the state is, you can get the set of numbers. And so that's how it all kind of started. And essentially you go through and you take all this, like, these different save states for each of these different games, and you plug them into a password generator, which is what you guys found immediately on this one. And that gives you a string of numbers. Turns out it gives you 66 numbers, because some of them are 6 characters long. Some of them, like the one on the screen now, are 12 characters long. Some are 16. But they added up to the exact number of characters that was already at the string at the start of this thing. See on the left side, it's just a bunch of numbers. And once you added those numbers together from what you got from the Mega Man numbers for the passwords to the string, it just was straight up an ASCII character that you could translate.
Okay, because I was unsure of, you know, how exactly this coincided, because somebody out of nowhere, I mean, as soon as we got to this, it was what, 30 minutes before we moved on to the next one.
Yeah, it was a quick one. I wanted to like front load with some difficulty on this one, because I felt like if I'd done like the code at the end of the puzzle, I feel like you guys would have killed me. But like, I'm so tired at this point, like solving this on top, like trying to transcribe that while you were exhausted. I thought, well, that's maybe a little too like not fun. So let's do a couple like lighter ones that are going to just be fun for folks. And I thought this was kind of just a fun little side puzzle for you guys to go down. So yeah, this was it. Solved pretty quickly, pretty straightforward. It's ASCII characters. They're offset by a certain amount of numbers. They're a certain value, and you guys figured that out pretty quick.
Excellent.
So that is the next piece of the puzzle. Once you'd solved that, there was actually a YouTube link that it came to.
And this one really got me, because earlier in the night you said, would I ever reuse something?
Yeah.
I was so upset when I was like, let's just do Cephomore. Anyway, go on.
When I was in the chat and I was like, how dare you say that I would reuse something like that? And I was like, I knew this is coming the next step, but I was like, oh, maybe that's too much of a curveball to throw them. But I figured, you know, I was going to do the clock cipher actually that you guys were looking up. But I thought, you know, let's do something a little bit simpler here, because I think to get to that point was already going to be pretty hard, because for all you don't know, there was a trivia show that was about an hour long where I sat down with Ranger, Kate, and Grid, and again, they had no idea what they were doing. People were suspecting they were in on the joke, where I was like giving out score to try and align the numbers up for their scoreboards at the end. And like, none of that was true. We just did trivia, and I'm apparently a bad scorekeeper, so I'm sorry. But of course, the eagle-eyed people noticed very, very quickly that at the top and the bottom of a bunch of the questions was these numbers. And somehow in my life, I have come into the knowledge that swatch beats exist, and that it is a thing in the 90s that the Swatch company tried to do, where they said, hey, we're going to make a universal internet time, not UTC, not anything like all the rest of the universal times that already exist. We're going to reinvent the wheel, and we're going to make 1,000 beats equals 1 day, which means 41.6 beats is an hour. It's like, the math doesn't work out with how we normally talk about time. And so it comes up with these super weird numbers. But it's something that said they even launched this. They're going to launch a satellite to try and like, it's a fascinating history. Go look up Swatch Beats if you want to know more about it, because it's stupid and dumb in a way that's just truly amazing. But as I said, you guys found out very quickly, hey, here's at the bottom at the top of each of these is some sort of number system. I mentioned at the start of it, it's filmed in Biel, Switzerland, which was a hint because that's where the Swatch Corporation is from. And also, if like it's a +1 UTC, which was ultimately what Swatch Beats used as their like zero time zone. But of course, Swatch Internet Time doesn't account for daylight savings because it's internet time, it's universal. But of course, BL Switzerland does. So it made it even more complicated. That like sometimes they're UTC +2, sometimes they're UTC +1, and they align with Beats time. It's dumb and stupid. I said, go look it up if you want to know more. But you guys figured out very quickly that there was something going on with that. And then eventually, this was a little bit of a slog to get there, but she finally got that it was semaphore again after my terrible misleading clues. That spelled out a whole bunch of stuff for a bunch of different links. I really thought the top and the bottom links would screw you guys up, because remember last time we did the video of me doing the tap code in Factorio, you guys didn't realize there are multiple streams of information here that you have to get multiple images out of it. So I thought maybe if I do a separate link at the top of the bottom, maybe it'll throw you guys off. But nope. You guys figured that out in that part out in like 2 seconds. That was not a problem for anyone.
Well, so the Factorio one, I can speak from remembering all of this, is that it was different ways that you were presenting it, especially
Yes.
with you walking along the way and then down the side and then down the bottom, all those. And I mean, it was a situation where you were unsure, but when we started doing the semaphore stuff, we were like, both of those say Bitly. Okay, cool.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I think I can't remember if it was Sig or someone was talking about how they just thought that, like, they translated the first chunk of it and said, "Oh, these are both the same link. They both say bit.ly," and then stopped and didn't realize there was a different set of unique codes at the end of them to go to different links. But,
yeah, and that was another thing with Factorio, is like, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. And I remember it was on a Wednesday night when you dropped this, the last one. And I'm sitting there at trivia going, guys, these aren't the same thing. And I'm like, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's 7:30. I have to go host trivia. Darn it.
So, well, it finally got through all that. And again, that was just a 2 sets of Bitly links. And that sent you to 2 images. One was a list of coordinates, as you can see on the left side here, and one was this like big crossword puzzle. I'd done crosswords in the past, and last time I did one, it was a really big hit. People loved the crossword thing. I got a lot of people saying, "Hey, crossword was a lot of fun," and it's also very collaborative, right? Like, it's easy just to crowdsource this. You throw the image on in Discord, and everyone kind of hacks at it. And so I was really excited that, like, this was it felt like a good activity for collaboration on this one. And this one, I was kind of differently themed. The last time it was like codes to get into games. This time it was codes to, like, for video games in the times before DLC and save states and all this other stuff. Now we had like the old school codes where you typed them into a console, and people, didn't know this,
to type in like eight letters and numbers,
some crazy string.
Exactly. I mean, what was it? You'd get like you'd be playing a game and you'd get to a save point, and it'd be like these 8 letters. They'd be
like we did with Mega Man,
uppercase. Yeah. And then when you switched it back on again, because there was no memory in
there was no way to save it.
there was no way to save it. It would just remember be at this point of the game with this, It's not like an emulator where you can have, now doesn't matter. You play it on an emulator, you've got RetroArch and it'll save state.
Yeah, exactly.
I do that with all my, I play a lot of Game Boy on my, I play a lot.
Oh, sure.
I play a lot of Game Boy on my Ambernick. So I like to be able to save when I get really, really frustrated and I go on tilt, and it's like, look, I'm just going to save it. I'll put it aside and I'll come back to it later. But yeah. I remember those days where, what was it? What was it? It was with the SNES. There was a lot of games on the SNES where you had, I used to have a notebook and I had all of the bits and pieces written in it,
Oh, for sure.
Up, down, left, right, left. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, I had a pretty thick notepad. I had like a binder that I kept them all in, and I organized them in there for that exact stuff. But I mean, I think I think, Paul, you noticed this pretty quickly, that like these are coordinates, and these coordinates obviously line up with this crossword, and the U's and the L's represented to upper and lowercase stuff for a YouTube link.
Is that 0451? What game was that? The code to the first door, 19
code
down.
To the first door. So that one was, that one I thought would be more obvious, but apparently wasn't. That is the door code to many, many first doors in many games, right? It is an old reference to, I think, the System Shock developers and like their office or something. There's some fun lore about it, but if you look up like first door code on Google, it'll come up with a history about 0451 and all the different story, all the different games it's been in. But it's like BioShock, Thief, any of those like immersive sim games that are out there, that like Dishonored, anything that like the Arcane studio does, so Prey, all of those, the first door is always 0451. As a reference to the original games out there. So I thought that one would be more obvious, but you guys went off a different track for first door code that I wasn't expecting. So I guess I should have made that clue a little bit easier to figure out. But difficulty for this stuff is so hard to pin down, because there's, I think I saw at least 1,000 people on some of the streams, almost 1,200 people on streams, not to mention people who were just on Discord trying to hack away and solve this thing. And it just takes one person to have that epiphany to then move the whole thing along. So like, nailing down where exactly how hard this should be is always something that I like really have to think about every time of like, is this just a little too weird, obscure, or is like someone going to find this out and go, I know that exactly. Like I thought the Age of Empires 2 one, spawn a Shelby Cobra. It's such a weird thing in Age of Empires 2 to spawn a Shelby Cobra because it's not about that at all. It's totally the wrong era, but like you remember that code, and I'm like, someone is going to play Age of Empires 2 and they're going to see spawn a Shelby Cobra. They're going to know that exactly. And sure enough, I can't remember who it was in Discord, but immediately got that one, and I was like, cool. That one was exactly what I was looking for.
IDKFA. That one popped right in my head as Quake. It made me laugh when I saw that you had Game Genie and Action Replay ones in here.
So I originally had done all Game Genie and Action Replay ones, but it didn't feel as entertaining as adding some of the classics that you and I know. I mean, like the Justin Bailey code, the Blood code for Genesis. These are all ones that like we know internally. The Konami code, like all of us can recite that stuff off like the top of our head.
Was there any cheat codes from? Let's see. Were there any cheat codes from Age of Empires or?
Yeah, Age of Empires 2 was spawn a Shelby Cobra. Power Overwhelming was all computers deal no damage through shield. That's StarCraft. For World of Warcraft, of course, it's a good day to die. That gives you basically immunity except for like Whirlwind, Blizzard, Death and Decay, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, those are the games that like I remember the codes from off the top of my head. I remember the first time I typed in Power Overwhelming in StarCraft, and I was like, oh, okay, this is forever and just build into my head.
Right? How about my knowledge of the Game Genie code for the Super Nintendo, Mortal Kombat, BDB4DD07?
Yep.
Why do I remember that?
Mine for StarCraft is I used to play StarCraft all the time, so I start playing the game. You got everybody, because I was in the army at the time, and we had a block in Cyprus. So what we did was we kind of like WAN, a local area network, up so that we could play against each other. But only a couple of us actually had the internet, and we went on, and it's like, oh my god, there are cheat codes for StarCraft. This is
Do you remember?
So as soon as we would start, it would be like a cheat code to get rid of the fog, and then the cheat code to give all of the resources, and then everybody would be like, "How are you piling on us?" So cheat codes for StarCraft and Ages of Empires were awesome.
Lots of good memories there. It just threw something back in my brain. I remember for StarCraft 1. There was actually the choice to do a spawn installation. Remember when those existed, where you could have a main game that I paid for, and I had my code for it, my key code, and then I could install that on everyone else's computer on my LAN to then connect basically to a game that has the actual code to play multiplayer.
Yep.
That's what we did. We had one copy of the game, and we just put it on everyone's PC in the block.
Yeah,
it was Warcraft. The original Warcraft, the original StarCraft, and Ages of Empires, and those three games were the only thing we played. It was fun at the start when only me and one other person knew the cheat codes, but then everybody else got wind of it, and like, okay, so no more cheat codes now because it's over in like 5 minutes. So a lot of fun, but that was so much fun back in the 90s. That
the next part of the puzzle was dumb as heck, right?
Yeah. Well, you maybe had some ideas of where this was going, and I'm curious how much this informed. You're like, I know what this link is supposed to be now that I've seen a chunk of it. So I assume you could have figured out, like, I bet this letter's wrong because you know too much. But the next piece was our interview together for Hondo.
I was tight-lipped the entire way through until they had that one letter wrong, and I'm like, no, try this letter. That's the only hint I gave them.
Yeah. Yeah, I see Bones in the chat saying good memories. Yeah, that was a lot of good memories for those cheat codes things. But yeah, so we did the Pen Cipher here. This revealed Hondo, obviously, we've already talked about in the game now. And he was sort of the big reveal for this whole piece. But throughout the thing, of course, was this thing called the Pen Cipher. It's a relatively well-known cipher if you're into that kind of thing.
The Masons used it.
Yeah, Masons use. There's a whole bunch of. It's got a long history. A lot of these ciphers have really cool history. It's been fun to learn about that as I've been doing these puzzles. I have a whole. I could talk about the history of who used these puzzles for a long time, but I won't bore you guys. But essentially, each letter is put into like a grid, and that coordinate of the grid, or that corner or center piece or whatever, is the sort of shape that you need to try and find. So in the video itself, Paul, you did a great job of putting this together, of hiding the shapes all over the thing in all sorts of different places. And so there is a whole bunch of different stuff that they finally found through the different times.
Yeah, people did not realize that this O right here for the visual people. The O in the Escape podcast would light up when it was the dot.
Yeah,
when there was a dot with the grid.
Oh, black sheep wall. Forgot about that one.
Yeah,
reveal
the map. It's like
the second you said that, I knew exactly what that code was. That's I don't know why I remember that.
It was the first thing you had to do as soon as it started. Black sheep wall, so you could see where all your enemies were.
It's crazy how much those are imbued in our brain. But yeah, so we did a really cool thing here with the Pen Cipher here.
Level. Oh man.
Yeah, there is no cow level. Oh, so many classic ones. Show me the money. That's the one I could think of. That's what I couldn't think of.
Show me the money. Show me the money.
And they're all like fun little references to the like movies and TV shows and all sorts of stuff, right? Like they're, It's a Good Day to Die, like all this like super cool stuff that I was already into. So it just, when I was a kid, it all felt like one giant universe together, because like they're all referencing each other. They're all talking to each other, especially, I was really into 40K when I was younger. And I started getting StarCraft, I was really into StarCraft. Little did I know that like they were trying to court Games Workshop to get the license for this, and ended up not getting it. And it's like, man, these things are so close and so similar. And it's like, well, it's because they were at one point. But
now we have Tabletop Simulator, and we play all we want.
Simulator. I still have my I'll grab later. I still have a bunch of models right now that I've been painting recently. But
it's like, look, I've got them right here.
There you go. Yeah. Oh man. Good old StarCraft 2. But anyways, back on track here. I don't want to take forever. I know we're running out of time here, but we're almost done. This was pretty close to the end of the puzzle here. You got the kind of the medium payoff with seeing Hondo and the whole kit and everything. I thought that would be kind of a cool thing to just like, here is the whole kit. You can see it all right now. And by the way, it's happening next week. Which was kind of fun.
That was so excellent. Plus the fact that, it was I was telling people that had a feeling I knew something, and I was promising them, no, the end of the puzzle is not going to be Hondo. Get that out of your mind. I will guarantee you the end is not Hondo.
The end is not Hondo, and that is true in a technical sense, because that all led to an imager link that was the Cytale Cipher. The Cytale Cipher is another fascinating one, been used in ancient Greek. It's a very old style cipher where essentially you need a rod of a certain diameter, you wrap a message around it, and then as those things line up, you can see it reveals a message across it in some degree. So I'd given you guys the size of the diameter, which is 1.7, or was it? No, sorry, 43.1 millimeters, which is 1.75 inches, which is the exact length or exact width of a toilet paper roll.
It was a toilet paper
towel roll. So I made sure, I was like, what's a tube that everyone's going to have on hand? I'm like, I know everyone's going to have a toilet paper roll or a paper towel roll. Someone can grab that and wrap that around there. What I thought was fascinating is, besides that, a bunch of people printed it out and did all the work to actually get it done. I think it was someone in the chat, I can't remember who it was, put up this chart of it, and they didn't realize that. Was it you?
Yeah.
Because the answer is right there. You got it right, of like the interval in which you need to break this up at. It does say usual image hosting and then the link right there on the screen, but no one noticed this one initially for a while, and I was like, you guys got it, but you don't know you have it.
So my wife is sitting on the other side of the table, because she's like, you've been doing this for 15 hours. And so she's sitting there and she's like, I see the word usual image host. And I was like, what?
Yeah, that's the other thing is, I tried to like slope down the difficulty a bit at the end because I knew we were going to be at the home stretch and people are just going to be tired. And like the most obvious things are sometimes going to be hard to figure out. And so I thought this one wouldn't be too bad, but people printed it out and did the whole thing and they measured it properly, that it was the right size. And that's what was the most like gratifying thing for me, is that like we can get people to like do some physical crafts actually. It wasn't as hard as the what's it called that I did last time, where you had to fold it in a bunch of different directions. Hexaflexagon.
The hexaflexagon, yes.
That one was much harder of a physical thing to build, but yeah. So this was like really the last stage, which I didn't think would be too hard. It just took you guys, I don't know, maybe a half hour, maybe 45 minutes. I don't think it took you a full hour to even solve this one. I think once you guys figured out what it was, I think it went pretty quick. And Hans in the chat was asking, did you load up on the new MTG Warhammer set? I did. I have pre-ordered every single one of those decks because they look freaking sweet and the art is awesome. It's all custom art for every single card in the deck. Oh, it's too good. But that, of course, once you got the usual image hosting site, which you're already on Imager, so you probably should know what that is. I use Imager all the time for these puzzles. We found out, hey, it's Doc Aphra. It's coming soon. And our lovely Hondo is required as one of the characters here. So
this leads to the question. I'll ask it, and feel free to prod a little bit more here, Neil. Dr. Aphra coming soon. Hondo #1. There's 3 more. This looks like a legacy event.
Yeah, you're going to see this is very similar to the Starkiller event we did last year. So there's going to be legacy event with legacy tiers and all the other stuff that you've seen last time. So check out Starkiller. You'll see a very good idea of what this will look like. And so there'll be 4 characters that will be required. You know the first one. The other 3 ones are mystery. I think Nev is going to give me some shots and try and read my face to see, like he did last time with Starkiller. And I think you did real good last time. I had to keep a very straight face when you nailed several of them.
Last time, my list accurately guessed what the remaining 3 characters were. So yeah, I'll be interested to see if I can get close this time around.
So go ahead and pull out that list here. I just
I've got the list in front of me.
I have a few questions that'll prime you here, Crumb.
Okay.
Are we gonna need Relic 5? Is that something we know yet, or can know?
I don't think we officially know yet, but I would say look at the structure of the Starkiller event, and it's going to be very, very close to that.
Four characters at Relic 5 that are all going to be required in order to go for the Doc Aphra.
I would say that's a very good bet.
Which seems that I was saying it like earlier. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. It was a great event the last time, so you keep the format, but obviously you're changing the tweaks, So what type of character?
We couldn't do the train level again with Hondo or something, Dash's train level, but just Hondo stuck on there.
With Hondo, you could have, and you wouldn't have gotten.
Technically, that was a bad example, but you get what I mean.
But the whole event, whoever wrote this event, I want to publicly say bravo, especially the legacy tier. That legacy tier had me rolling on the floor in laughter. Do I want to spoil it? Am I okay to spoil it?
I mean, it's out there now, right? I mean, people can go experience that.
You're not spoiling anything. It's out there.
So he fights against Jabba the Hutt, his Major Domo, and Boba Fett, he thought. It was Gamorrean Guard, Mob Enforcer, and Greedo. But he tells the tale as if he took down Jabba the Hutt, Boba, and the Major Domo.
Yeah, we might see a little bit more Hondo just providing some flavor to the game, because he's such a great voice to have, just like calling the shots and telling stories all the time. So you might see him around a little more often.
He should take over the cantina from the Twi'lek. Just saying.
Yeah. Shar's great though. Shar's great.
You said that there was something that you were going to let us know about what is coming up. You were about to say something in the pre-show when we were talking about what are we gonna exactly talk about. You said, I have a small hint or a small piece of information. What was that piece of information?
Oh, I think I said, like, once you see the second character in this list here, I think you're going to get a good idea of where the direction of these other characters are going to go. There's only 4, so it's not like you're getting a ton of information there. If once you get to 2, there's only 2 more characters left. But I think once you see 2, you're gonna know some of the other ones.
All right.
Okay. So Paul has 4. Paul, read your 4 while I look to his reactions.
Well, I want to see Santa, Aphra's girlfriend. I want to see it all. The rest of them all go towards Dr. Aphra, BT1 and 000.
Those are your 3.
Those are my. If I have to choose 3, those.
Yeah. Obviously, my list is much longer. So
here we go, Crumb. Assume the position.
You saying they're linked, it might not necessarily. So the list might be moot, but I would throw Talon Card in there.
Talon Card, okay.
I would throw Talon Card in there because pirates. So I would throw Talon Card in there and Booster Terek. I would throw Talon Card and Booster Terek. I would also throw Kirkanos in there as well. And the reason why I throw
some deep cuts, okay.
Yeah, something I found out about Kirkanos today. I didn't know he was extended universe. He got reintroduced into canon
in Crimson Dawn.
He was reintroduced into canon.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and that doesn't happen with that very, very rarely happens with extended universe characters.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can count them on one hand. So finding out that Kirkanos was so I'm trying to think of characters that would be neutral, because I think that you're going to introduce 4 neutral characters. So I'm trying to think of characters from the extended universe that could be classed as neutral because they played both sides of the field. Booster Terek, Talon Card, and Kirkanos are perfect examples of extended universe characters that have played both. So, I mean, Talon Card and Booster Terek are very, very similar to Hondo. To Hondo, they're very, very similar. I'm not going to bother, but I did have.
But do you think we would introduce characters that are so similar? Like if we had the opportunity to do something like more, different, right? Like the difference between Dash and Darth Talon and Mara Jade are all very different style of characters, right?
That's what I was kind of hoping. But you saying that we're going to be able to pretty much pick up what the 2 are after the next one makes me think that they're not going to be random characters from the extended universe that potentially are separated by hundreds of years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So saying things like Nomi Sunrider, Exarchon, Corran Horn, Admiral Dala, Tag and Bink, Darth Plagueis, Darth Bane, Nomamore, Garm Belimbis, Kip Duron, Frieden Nad, Gilad Palon, Bullet Queldroma, Naga Sadao, Cam Solsar, and Odan Ur. So there's my official list, but the 3 that I think are most likely are Talon Card, Booster Terek, and Kirkanos.
Everyone get the bingo cards out. We'll see in a couple months here, a couple weeks here, who was right, who was wrong.
The last time you said you can at least give me a hint. Have I guessed any right?
Have we said the name of one?
Have I said at least the name of one?
I don't think your hitting rate on this one, Nev, is as good as last time. I think
wow.
Okay, I'm going to have to go away, look at my books, look at my comics, and come back with a more comprehensive list.
And I'm going to say, you didn't. Last time, I think you nailed it. Like within, 8 characters, you
8
got
characters.
the 3 of them.
I nailed it within 8 characters. Yeah.
This one, I think, your batting rate's a little lower than before.
I'm off base, am I? Oh, there is one thing that it's in my head now, so I have to say it before you go, because we've been talking about StarCraft. Any chance we could have an 8-way StarCraft?
Sure. Yeah, you want to do an 8-way StarCraft?
I think an 8-way StarCraft.
Are we playing StarCraft 2 or StarCraft 1?
2 might be easier
because 2 is free. 2 is free on Blizzard.
A, it's free, and B, on Battle.net, one person can create an 8-person game, and then everybody logs into Battle.net, types in the password, and And
so I've been playing actually a little bit of StarCraft recently. I've always played a lot of Zerg, and I recently, I would say every 6 months or so, I get into here's the build order I'm going to learn, and I'm going to hack through this, and I'm going to go through at least the first 2 ladders before I give up. So I played some StarCraft. I'm certainly not good at StarCraft. I'm not savant at StarCraft, but I'm happy to get my butt kicked while I play a bunch of roaches and throw those at you guys for an 8-play StarCraft game. That sounds great. I'm in.
I suck too. You can have all my little aliens.
Oh, excellent. So,
I'm a Protoss player.
So the next time you do, I'm just thinking the next time you do one of your streams where you would normally play games and a bunch of people would come in, we could all do like not in the stream, but we could all play StarCraft together.
Sure. Yeah. Let's get the 8 people together. We've got 2 so far. We just need, or 3 so far. We just need 5 more. So
yeah, we just need 5 more people who can play, who know how to play. Well, no, we don't need 5 people that know how. We need
just
5
need 5 people.
Yeah. We just need 5 people with the game.
Unless you want to do a comp stomp, we could always do a 8-player free for all or something like that.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking an 8-person melee.
Yeah.
Abner Doom says why he wants to know, Neil, why EU characters, neither Aphra nor Hondo, are still only EU. That brings me to just one question that I'm hoping maybe we can get the answer to. Are the characters that are remaining currently canon? Disney canon?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay.
Honestly, that is not me trying to deceive you. I don't actually know what their status is, and I don't want to screw this up because that's a big one for me to screw up.
Right.
Oh, meaning you know what the characters are, but you don't know what their canon status is.
Correct. Sorry. Yes.
Vis-a-vis Lucasfilm and Disney. Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, Crumb, thank you for showing this. Thank you for sharing this with us. And Elastic, I want to also give a shout out to a fellow content creator, Elasticated. They did a breakdown like you've done here. I don't know if you've seen his video, but it was
I've looked that up. I didn't know he did one.
Yeah, Elasticated, which you have one of his one of your screenshots is one of his comments. So
I'm sure. Yeah. I saw him quite a bit in the channel there. I'm definitely gonna have to look up his video breakdown on this because I'm super curious.
Yeah. So I quick shout out to him. I'm hoping that maybe we can have him on, but he is over in the he's overseas, if you will, across the pond.
Across the pond, yes.
Well, but this has been great. I thank you for taking your time. Thank you for, thank you for making the puzzle in the first place, and thank you for sharing some of the fun with us. We hope that we can do something else fun in the future. Not too distant future, next Sunday AD possibly.
Well, thank you guys for letting me just do my little brain dump here around this stuff and walk you guys through this, because I think it's useful for a lot of people to see how it all fell apart or all came together. One of the two, depending on how you look at it. And thank you guys for all the efforts you guys did to help make it come together as well. Just huge thank you to both of you for all your work on this, because I know there's some secrets you guys had to keep and all the work you guys did on the video stuff, but it all turned out really well. And then a big thank you to the community for allowing me to do this in my free time. You guys are into doing these things, and so that's been amazing to see. And I love this community and how much we're into doing this kind of stuff. So
we kept our mouth shut, so you know where to go the next time you bring back beta testing.
Yeah. So I appreciate that, guys.
Man. So final thoughts. Any final questions before I lay the final question on Crumb?
No, go ahead.
All right, Crumb. I really need to know this one.
Okay.
Where's Darth Bane?
I thought honestly you're gonna just say where's Hondo again, and I was like, okay, yeah, I've done this one with Darth Bane. That's the new cross to bear, huh?
That's the new cross to bear, and I will not rest until we get him in our game.
Well, it only took you 600 days last time, right?
No, it took me 2,000. If you count the very beginning of this game, 2,509.
Okay, there we go. But who's counting, right? Who's counting?
Nobody.
So, well, I don't know where Darth Bane is right now, but maybe one day we'll see. Maybe he's a requirement for Doc Aphra. Who knows?
I mean, that would be a wonderful thing to see.
That would be kind of freaky.
But he does.
That would be kind of freaky.
In my opinion, he does deserve a legacy event.
Mhm.
Or
he's a cool character, that's for sure.
Or he could be something that someone should conquest over, if you ask me.
Yeah, that seems about appropriate level for Darth Bane. It makes sense.
All right. So, thank you, Crumb. Guys, coming up, Hondo, we've got Hondo in the game. So what the heck are Dickie and the Noob going to do now? Let's find out in this break right here on the Escape Podcast.
HotPod in HotUtils is one of the most comprehensive tools for Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes.
With integration into the super useful mod tool Grand Ivory, HotUtils can help you tackle some of the most difficult aspects of the game.
Not sure how to mod your roster for a certain game mode?
Use one of the many filters that automatically assigns the right mods to the right character in accordance with your guild needs.
Now with the digital features that can assist you and your guild officers in territory battles and territory wars, HotUtils is an amazing value.
And don't forget the useful tools for yourself in Grand Arena, like the in-depth and customizable compare feature.
Got multiple accounts like Neil, but not the time to remod them all?
With this one-stop utility, you can switch between your alts and never miss a mod upgrade or a mod switch before locking into GAC or territory wars.
Starting at just $5 a month, you don't want to miss out on these great tools.
HotUtils is the new official remodding service for the Escape Pod cast.
Visit HotUtils.com to learn more. That's HotUtils.com. And go ahead and spice up your Galaxy of Heroes experience.
Padawans, be sure to support the shows brought to you on the Escape Podcast Twitch and YouTube channel by becoming a Patreon. For as little as $2 a month, you can support us and get a little extra for yourself. With tiered rewards including access to Shitty Bill's Arena tracking bot, after-show access, inclusion in the GA Center leaderboards, behind-the-scenes access, and much more. There is something for everyone on our Discord server. Head on over to Patreon, that is patreon.com/The Escape Pod, and sign up today. Thank you for supporting and listening to the Escape Podcast.
Hey Noob, you got a second?
We are on a tiny spaceship where the only other people are a little alien who doesn't speak a word of basic. In a teenage nightmare, I try to stay as far away from as I can. So, yeah, I guess I could fit you in.
Yeah, well, I've got some bad news.
Is there any other kind? What is it now? Was Tatooine's Got Talent already picked up for a season 2?
No, actually, I've had to cancel the show entirely.
Already?
Well, you do realize the show was never actually real in the first place, right? And well, the show kind of lost its purpose, because Hondo's been found. He's coming to SWGOH, and we're not the ones who cashed in on the bounty.
Seriously? Who cashed in?
It was Paul.
Paul? Like Paul from the Fulcrum? That no-good, scruffy-looking nerf herder. Sorry, I got a little carried away there. Wait, I always assumed he was the client.
And you assumed that we were the only people he had on the case?
I guess not. So, what are we gonna do now?
Well, we've been going at it pretty hard. We could just take a vacation.
With what? If we're not getting paid for the Hondo job, we have no money.
We could go back to the hall. That door guy offered us a room whenever we wanted.
Did I just see on Space Talk that my Moofdung dad has resurfaced?
Yeah, that means we can drop you off as soon as possible.
Now, Noob. Rhonda is our guest, so let's hear her out.
Yes, Limo. And let me just tell you, there is no way I am going back to that guy. He's such a pain, and he's always stealing my hair clips.
Wait, what's going on? Didn't we just have the whole ship diagnostic run?
I have no clue what's going on.
What is going on? Why did all the lights turn red? This is really uncool. You know that Weequays can't even see red, right?
Again, you know that I have a file on Weequays in my databanks, and that is not true.
Yeah, I'm going to actually have to side with Noob on this one, Rhonda. If you can't see red, then how do you know the lights are red? Anyways, that's besides the point. Noob, can you plug into the ship and see what's going on?
Sure. Actually, wait, I cannot.
Why not?
Well, the socket is on that panel behind us, and we don't have an asset of me going in that direction. I can basically only move left or right.
Ugh, aren't we in spacefaring science fiction? Why is it that robots always need to physically plug in? Don't we have, like, Wi-Fi or Bluetooth or something on this ship?
That's a good point. Pairing. Pairing successful.
Pairing successful.
Whoa. Ooh, I think this has been sabotaged. Somebody has had a field day in these subroutines. Oh no, it's taking over my... Somebody... Help! This is not supposed... Dickie! Oh god, no! Help! Somebody... Dickie!
Noob? Noob? Are you okay?
Oh, yeah, I think so. Getting some of these old desires for human side is coming back. You know, actually, it feels kind of nice, like an old friend.
Well, that was pretty weird. Do you have any idea what you just said?
Yeah, I said I want to murder meatbags.
No, before that.
That we were sabotaged?
Noob, do you not remember, like, speaking in tongues? Is the speech file not stored in your memory banks or something?
No, nothing, weird. Did you just see that?
Yeah, that was really weird. You just flashed like some big square with little black squares from your projector.
I did?
Yeah, Noob, and that's pretty rude. You know a lot of people, like, follow us on audio only?
Well, this seems like a good opportunity to remind people that the Escape Pod cast is also available on YouTube. Meatbags can like and subscribe while they're there.
That is an excellent point. Perhaps the best you've made in a while, but I'm gonna need you to go see Yarmo for some diagnostics.
Oh, fine. You threatened to murder Meatbags once?
Who sabotaged the home ship and why? Find out next time on Dickie and the Noob.
You're listening to the Escape Pod Cast.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for Patreon's choice.
That was fun.
Time for us to ask us to answer the questions.
And I'm wondering what all that was in Dickie and the Noob. That was quite interesting. Maybe somebody needs to start their own puzzle solving.
Yes.
All right, let's take a look here. Let's see what we got in the Patreon's only questions. All right, we still have Bob's from last week. There we go. Top 3 cowboy films.
Oh, okay. Unforgiven. It's got to be Unforgiven. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And The Three Amigos.
Okay, you took Three Amigos. I was going to go there.
Oh, were you going to go Three Amigos?
I was going to go Three Amigos. I'm going to say one that you're going to be like, oh, why didn't I say that? Blazing Saddles.
Oh, God, yeah, of course, yeah, Blazing Saddles, yeah.
And, sure, why the hell not? Let's piss off some people. Brokeback Mountain. Top 3 fantasy films.
Top what, sorry?
Top 3 fantasy films.
What? Does he
he says swords and dragons stuff.
Okay. So, Game of Thrones stuff.
Game of Thrones.
Okay, but movies. Okay. Let's go.
Oh my gosh, the last question. I'm gonna have some weird answers for his last question.
You're gonna have, that's perfectly. Yep, that's fine. I'm gonna go with. I think it counts. Reign of Fire.
Okay.
I think that one, because it had dragons in it. So if it's got dragons in it,
sure,
then it's fantasy. You know, set in modern times, obviously, you know. So I will go with that. I will go with... you come up with yours. I need to come up with some intelligent ones.
So fantasy films? I mean, Pete's Dragon.
Princess Bride.
There you go.
Princess Bride.
We're overlapping on Princess Bride because you cannot not say Princess Bride.
Yeah.
And then I'd probably have to go. I mean, does Robin Hood count?
No, I'm
No?
just going to go with I'm just going to go with Lord of the Rings, because Lord of the Rings is kind of an obvious one, really, isn't it? The entire, as in the entire trilogy. You know, Fellowship, Twin Towers, The King. So yeah, let's go for that. I'm going to go with that.
I'm going to go
No
with
City Slickers. Oh,
How-
of course, yeah.
How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah, okay,
Try to
works as
watch
well.
that without crying nowadays. Okay.
Okay, I can pretty much watch anything without crying. Doesn't
Well,
mean I don't choke up.
That's because you don't have feelings.
No, I don't. I'm too stoic. I'm too stoic to cry. I'm like Conan. You know, I need somebody to cry for me. I literally need someone to cry for me.
Top 3 Uma Thurman movies.
Top 3 Uma Thurman. Okay, Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction definitely number 1. What else has she been in? What else did I like her in? She was okay in Kill Bill. There were parts where I get that, you know, Quentin Tarantino wanted that kind of cheesy grindhouse feel, but I think she overplayed it in certain. But she put herself through a huge amount of pain in order to train for that movie, and you know, mad respect for anybody that puts themselves through that. So Kill Bill, Pulp Fiction, and I don't know. I'm trying to think of another one. You go with yours.
Pulp Fiction definitely has to be there. Batman and Robin. Fight me.
Oh yeah, she was a very, very tasty looking poison ivy.
And then man, looking through the filmography to just make sure that I'm not forgetting something.
Oh, she was hilarious in My Super Ex-Girlfriend. She was funny as hell in that. I've never thought of her as funny, because she always plays relatively serious or indie roles, but My Super Ex-Girlfriend was absolutely hilarious. I took one look at that, thought, no, this is just not for me, but it was one of those guilty. It's like, it works. It's funny. She does have comedic timing.
My last one is probably going to have to be, gosh. I mean, I don't want to say Kill Bill as well, so I'll say Kill Bill Volume 2.
Okay, you go with Kill Bill Volume 2.
All right, top 3 Idris Alba movies.
Oh, okay. I'll go with The Dark Tower. The one the one where he what was the Fast and the Furious one that he did?
That was one of mine. Hobbs and Shaw.
Hobbs and Shaw, yeah.
Yep.
That was awesome. That was just, imagine your ego is 100 times larger than it is now. That's the character we want you to play in this movie. It's like, all right, I could do that. What else?
And you've already taken Dark Tower.
Yeah, I've already taken Dark Tower. I've already taken Hobbs and Shaw.
I'm going to take the Suicide Squad.
Okay, you can take two.
I'm taking Suicide Squad off the table for you.
I'm gonna. What was that? Damn it! I just watched him in something recently. Molly's Game. He was the lawyer in Molly's Game. I thought he was brilliant. I thought he was really, really, really good in that. Yeah, I'll go with Molly's Game because he was very, very good in that. I just wish that they would make him the next bloody James Bond, because I think he would make an awesome James Bond.
That's, I wholeheartedly agree on that. If you have not seen his part in The Harder They Fall, it came out last year. Great movie with him in it, in my opinion. Here we go. Top 3 monster movies, giant, undead, or otherwise.
What do you mean, giant and What?
The monsters can be giant monsters, kaiju.
Oh, right. Okay.
They could be
so
undead.
It could be like Pacific Rim, or
yes,
it could be. Yeah. I see what you mean. Okay. And so top 3 monster movies.
Correct.
Okay. Right. Monster Squad.
All right.
Because I loved that movie as a kid. Monster Squad's awesome because it's got Frankenstein and Dracula and Wolf. It's got them all in it. So yeah, I like that one. That's awesome. I already said Pacific Rim, but
you did say Pacific Rim.
That's not one. No. I like Pacific.
Okay.
Pick it as I wouldn't pick it as one of my favorites. I don't. Too cheesy. It needed better cast. It needed a better cast. As far as I could say, it would have been a much better movie if it had had a better cast.
Well, then you go watch the dollar store version called Atlantic Rim, and you will enjoy Pacific Rim. Okay,
I know. Yeah, I watched the dollar store version, the dollar store sequel, and yeah, it sucked. I'm watching it. I'm thinking to myself, John, fire your manager because you should not be taking casting calls for movies like this. Because John Boyega was in it. I'm like, okay, John Boyega's in it, so it must be half decent. And then I'm like, no, it's not. John, fire your manager. Fire your manager.
Right, so
you've been seriously miscast.
Mine is going to be any Gamera movie as long as it's riffed by MST3K.
Mm-hmm.
Teen Wolf.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to go with Cloverfield. I liked Cloverfield.
Cloverfield was all right. Cloverfield was an okay movie. Yeah, definitely. If camera shaking doesn't make you want to vomit all the time. Wolfman's got nards. Yes. When he gets kicked, when Wolfman gets kicked, that's brilliant. See, Zaz knows what I'm talking about.
Dark Nar says The Mummy. That's a good one.
Oh yeah, no, not the Tom Cruise one, the Brendan Fraser one.
Brendan Fraser. Anything with Brendan Fraser is great.
Yeah, but I like Brendan. I have a lot of respect for Brendan Fraser. I very much like Brendan Fraser. So yeah, I would go with I'll go with The Mummy. Yeah, Dark Knight. Thanks for the suggestion. That's a good one.
There we go. You know what? I'm going to throw it out there because I know Zaz will probably ask it next week. Let's do it now. Top 3 Brendan Fraser movies.
Top 3. Okay, top 3. So definitely The Mummy. Definitely George of the Jungle, because he's just hilarious. Actually, no, I'm going to take out George of the Jungle and put in California Man because he was funnier in that. And then, what was that one that he was in with Alicia Silverstone, where he was trapped underground with his parents, Sissy Spacek and Christopher Walken for 30 years.
Journey to the Center of the Earth?
No. Something in Time. Oh, I'm gonna have to IMDb it now.
I'm
gonna have to IMDb it while you come up with yours.
Well, mine are easy. Bedazzled, Encino Man, and The Mummy. Those are my 3 favorite Brendan Fraser films. But
yeah, well, you see, the thing is, you in the UK, it wasn't called Encino Man. It was called California Man. But in UK and Europe, it was called California Man.
I'm just going to point this out, Neil. You know damn well what movie I was talking about, though.
Yeah, do I? Yeah, I do know. I know because I've had this conversation with people before.
I know.
Okay. Still trying to find it. Back before he chunked up.
Was it a comedy?
Not really a comedy. Oh, he was hilarious as Ben in Scrubs as well.
Oh my gosh, absolutely, 100%.
He was very, very funny. Blast from the Past. That's the movie.
There we go.
Blast from the Past.
So, all right. Got anything coming up on the channel this weekend?
Not this weekend. Other than GA Center, because I've had cooties for the last couple of days.
Yes, you have been feeling bad.
I wasn't up for it. So yeah. At some point over the weekend, I'll do G8 Center for sure.
All right. I've got to get back on Vault 37. I'll tell you that much. Vault 37 Studios on Twitch needs some love. Hopefully soon. But nonetheless, it's been a great week. Thank you once again to Crumb for sharing with us his presentation on how the puzzle started and how the puzzle ended. And we look forward to much more. It's these legacy events always excite the community, in my opinion, and I'm excited to see what is next. Hope we find out next week what the next one will be for the week after, and hopefully Lando, the skiff guard, comes to farmable status.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Al just to Al Bundy. I love Scrubs, and I tried to start a rumor on Twitter that Zach Braff and Donald Faison were going to be playing Tag and Bink in an anime. We're going to do the voices in an animated version of Tag and Bink. I tried to start that rumor on Twitter. It wouldn't stick. And so feel free to do that again if you like, because they're a hilarious duo. And I think that they would be brilliant as Tag and Bink.
All right. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for the support. Thank you so much for everything. When it comes to this show, your support means the world to us. Keep circulating the tapes, as one of my favorite television shows say. And remember to be nice to each other, damn it. Neil?
Push the button.
Don't mind if I do.
What's going on? Where the hell are we? Paris?
Thank you for pressing the self-destruct button.
Attention! This is Colonel Sanders in forward command. Abandon ship! Abandon ship! All personnel proceed to escape pods. Close down the circuits. Evacuate the city. Self-destruct mechanism has been activated. Abandon ship! Where is it? Where is it? It's gotta be here. Out of order! Even in the future, nothing works.
This ship will self-destruct in exactly 10 seconds. Counting down. 10, 9, 8, 6.
6! What happened to 7?
Just kidding. 3, 2, 1. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Hello, friends. This is Thaddeus from Going Nerdy. The Escape Podcast was filmed in front of a live studio audience full of tweaked out murder bears.
Sit, Ubu, sit. Good dog.